Hi, welcome back to another HowTechs how-to video. Today we have the Blackberry DTEK 60 and we're going to show you how to use the camera and camcorder functions. So first of all, with your phone open, you want to go to the camera icon here, which by default is on the bottom right. You can also find it in the apps under camera. So click on that, and standard camera interface. This is Android 6.0, so you can hit the white shutter to take photos. You can also switch between the front-facing and rear-facing cameras by clicking here. And you can also go to the mode, and this will bring up the options to do slow motion video, video, photo, or panorama. So let's quickly show you the video. So similarly, hit the shutter button here to begin recording. You can also take still pictures while you're recording. And if you're ready to stop video, just hit again. And the other modes available include slow motion video or panorama. So let's demonstrate the panorama now. Let's try taking one really close here. It works differently than the iPhone in that rather than sweeping across, you actually take several pictures that it stitches together. So you want to get this circle to show up inside this larger circle, and then it takes a picture. And it'll just keep going, so when you're ready to stop, if you've run out of things to take panorama, just hit the green check, and then you can actually see the photo if you go here to the gallery. And so here's my photo that covered quite a large angle of view, and then you can basically throw it away, edit it, or share it. In this case, we'll go back to the camera. So those are the basics. One other key thing here is you can adjust the brightness by either touching. You can also shift the exposure here by using this dial. And then, of course, like almost all phones nowadays, if you pinch, you can zoom. And it's actually pretty good. Up at the top, you have a number of settings, including the flash mode if you want automatic flash, flash off, or flash on every time, or basically some background lighting, which turns on the LED here, which is good if you're trying to take a picture in the dark and you can't even see what to take a picture of until the flash goes off. You can do a 3-second or 10-second timer. So if you are have the camera on a tripod or selfie stick and you want to set it and then jump in the picture, that's really useful. You can also change the aspect ratio of the picture. If you want to take squares for Instagram, or 16:9 maybe for a YouTube thumbnail, or regular 4:3. You can adjust the HDR settings, auto HDR, HDR on or off. HDR, if you don't know, is the high dynamic range. So if you're in a place where there's a really bright object in the background and maybe a darker object in the foreground, like something in the shade with a sunny background, a sunny sky in the background, HDR is great because it basically takes two photos at once, one which is set for the dark area and one which is set for the light area, and then stitches the two together so that even in a place like that, things won't get completely washed out or be too dark. So usually I set that to auto. We have some extra modes here, a manual mode and also some settings. So manual mode, you can really adjust everything. So manual focus, that white balance, the shutter speed, as well as the ISO speed. So this is the sensitivity, and then also exposure control, which is actually the same thing that was on there before. So that's manual mode. Let's go back to auto mode. Under settings, here's maybe more technical things like the file size and exactly how it takes a picture. So you can basically choose between standard or fine. Basically, fine is larger files. Standard is sort of somewhat compressed. Focus before capture. Take a picture after the shot is in focus. This setting can delay the capture time. So generally you probably want that on, even though it might make it a bit slower. Face detection is great, so that if you're taking pictures of people, it'll recognize where the people are and adjust accordingly so that they're not washed out. For video, there's really some cool settings here. This thing can go up to 4K resolution on video at 30 frames per second or 24 frames per second. If you're doing 1080p, you can actually do 60 frames per second, which is great for things that are moving around fast that you want to capture at a high frame rate. And you can also, of course, do 720p as well. And there's some video stabilization, so that if you're in a shaky area, it will actually compensate for that by shifting the pixels back and forth. You can turn on and off grid lines, geolocation, mute the shutter sound, etc. And then you can also choose to save the pictures directly to the external media card, since this does take an micro SD card, which is great if you're taking photos for, say, a birthday party or something like that, and you want to be able to share the files right away, rather than having to copy them manually to the card, then remove the card and put it in your computer. You could do it right away, pass it to your friend where he can save it. And then you can also choose what you want the volume key here to do. Do you want it to capture an image? Do you want it to do zoom, or to just adjust the volume? So let's do zoom and show how that works. So if I go back, now my volume buttons here on the top will do zoom. So I can zoom out or zoom in. So one key sort of thing to keep aware of on this phone is that we have the fingerprint sensor right here, and this is right next to the camera. You have to be aware that if you're using this and you're placing your finger here to hold, that you don't accidentally cover up the camera, because it's actually pretty close. One last feature, we have some filters built in, which this is pretty useless, I found, because I'd much rather do this after I've taken my photo than before. But you can get some cool features in the reverse. Okay, and there you have it. That's the camera and camcorder features on the DTEK 60 by Blackberry. If you have any questions, please leave a comment. Don't forget to subscribe. Please be sure to check out all of our how-to videos for this phone and many other phones here on HowTechs. Thank you very much. See you next time. Bye. But the interesting one is the Blackberry versus the iPhone 7 Plus. So the Blackberry has a Snapdragon processor,